Back to Natural One, the YouTube channel equivalent of a Hershey's variety pack where everyone else got there first, so all that's left is Mr. Goodbar. You wanted literally anything else, but nope, this is what you get. And what you're getting today is another episode of shoving your favorite pop culture characters into the rule set of D&D 5e. They fit or not. This time, we're tackling Bilbo Baggins, the most unexpected adventurer in Middle-earth. So, how do we take this pint-sized literary legend and fit him into the world of D&D? Grab your walking stick, second breakfast, and an alarming lack of survival skills, because we're about to go on an adventure.
One day it'll grow. And every time I look at it, I'll remember. Remember everything that happened, the good, the bad. And how lucky I am that I made it home.
Pint-sized adventure with a knack for getting in just enough trouble to be legendary needs some solid stats. And while Bilbo may not be the strongest, toughest, or even remotely prepared for adventuring, he's got a few tricks up his sleeve, mostly in the form of running, hiding, and talking his way out of death. Let's start with a 15 in wisdom. Bilbo might not look like a survival expert, but his instincts are sharper than most. He can sense when something's not right, be it trolls arguing over cooking methods, a giant spider creeping up behind him, or a magic ring with some serious baggage. Next up, a 14 in dexterity. Small, quick, and surprisingly sneaky, Bilbo's got the agility to tiptoe past dragons, slip away from goblins, and make a clean getaway when things go south. It also helps with all that pocketing of borrowed goods. 13 in charisma, because while he's no grand storyteller yet, he's got enough charm to talk his way out of being dinner twice. Convincing trolls to argue themselves into sunrise and getting Smog to monologue about his weak spot? That's peak burglar diplomacy. 12 in intelligence keeps Bilbo clever enough to navigate riddles, puzzles, and the occasional life or death strategy session. He might not be a scholar, but he's got enough wit to keep up with wizards and outthink goblin captors. A 10 in strength because, let's be honest, Bilbo isn't exactly built for combat. He's not weak, but he's more likely to swing a sword in self-defense than go charging into battle. If you had to wrestle an orc, the best case scenario is stalling until someone else shows up. Finally, an 8 in constitution, because walking for more than a few hours is already pushing Bilbo to his limits. He's not exactly built for extreme weather, poison, or combat-related injuries. Honestly, he probably just needs a long rest just from skipping second breakfast.
Mr. Bilbo, where are you off to? Don't stop, I'm already late. Late for what? I'm going on an adventure!
Bilbo is a Lightfoot halfling, which is just the D&D way of saying hobbit, because apparently Wizards of the Coast didn't want to pay the licensing fees. As a halfling, he's got lucky, meaning he can reroll any natural ones, a crucial feature when you're constantly fumbling your way through life or death situations. He's also brave, which doesn't mean he feels brave, just that his dice rolls say otherwise. Halfling nimbleness lets him squeeze through spaces occupied by larger creatures, which is basically everyone, and naturally stealthy means he can vanish behind anything bigger than a particularly large dinner plate. That last one is especially useful when sneaking through goblin tunnels or trying very, very hard not to be noticed by a certain gold-hoarding reptile. He also speaks halfling, because duh, and dwarvish, thanks to spending way too much time listening to Thorn and company argue about who's getting what treasure, when they haven't even fought the dragon yet. Bilbo might call himself a simple homebody, but Far Traveler is the only background that makes sense for someone who accidentally hikes across Middle-earth. This gives him proficiency in insight, because after a few months on the road, he's picking up on when people or wizards are withholding crucial details. He's also got perception, essential for spotting something hidden, or at least noticing when one of the dwarves is about to start something very stupid.
Sting. It's a good name.
Bilbo's adventure doesn't start because he wants it to, but it does sort of start with a little gold ring that's got some serious mind-bending properties. That's why he's kicking things off as an Archfey Warlock, with the One Ring itself acting as his patron. His first major ability, Fey Presence, lets him exert a supernatural force of will over any of those nearby, either charming or frightening them. Sounds a lot like a certain hobbit causing Gollum to cower in fear, or persuading Smog to keep talking while he looks for weak spots. For skills, he's got deception, because lying about his identity, or, the ring in his pocket, becomes second nature, and investigation, because you don't find out riddles in the dark without a keen mind. The trait, not the feat. His spell list includes Friends, because a little magical nudging makes negotiations easier, Charm Person for dealing with stubborn dwarves or town officials, and Distort Value, because haggling and downplaying the importance of cursed jewelry is a survival skill. Oh, and we might as well grab True Strike here, because when you have the chance to grab the best spell in the game, well, I mean, you get it, right? Sure, Bilbo's got a little magic, but his real survival strategy is good old-fashioned sneaking and lying through his teeth. Dipping into Rogue gives him proficiency in stealth, because sneaking past trolls, elves, and a literal dragon is the key to staying alive. He also gains expertise in both stealth and deception, making him twice as good at hiding and twice as convincing when insisting he's just a simple burglar and definitely doesn't have anything of value in his pockets. Oh, and sneak attack lets him get a little bit extra damage if he gets the drop on someone. Not that Bilbo's a powerhouse in a fight, but hey, sometimes you have to stab a spider in the face. At level 3, Bilbo's agility and quick thinking really start to shine with cunning action, letting him dash, disengage, or hide as a bonus action. This means he can duck behind cover, slip away from a fight, or sprint out of danger without wasting a full turn. Absolutely essential when your battle plan is run away and hope Gandalf shows up in time. It's also a major step toward him becoming the legendary burglar Thorin hoped for, even if most of his burgling is just not getting caught. At level 4, Bilbo takes his roguish skills to the next level, picking up the Scout subclass. Because if there's one thing he did a lot of, it was scrambling through the wilderness and avoiding trolls. With Skirmisher, he becomes even harder to pin down, allowing him to dart away whenever an enemy gets too close, avoiding opportunity attacks entirely. This fits perfectly with Bilbo's preferred combat style of, no thank you, I'd rather not be here at all. He also gains expertise in nature and survival, because he did, against all odds, manage to navigate through Mirkwood, evade goblins, and survive Smaug's general proximity without becoming an entree. At level 5, Bilbo gets a taste, literally, of something truly useful. The Chef Feat. With a +1 to wisdom, he hones his keen hobbit senses, particularly the ones related to food. He also gains proficiency in cook's utensils because, let's be honest, second breakfast isn't going to make itself. As part of a short rest, Bilbo can now whip up comforting meals that provide extra healing, keeping his party going with the power of good home cooking. Plus, he can prepare small treats that grant temporary hit points, like limbus bread, but with more butter and less magical elf judgment. At level 6, Bilbo's rogue training grants him Uncanny Dodge, the ultimate survival technique for a burglar who prefers not getting hit at all. Whenever an attack lands, he can use his reaction to halve the damage, making it much easier to live through the inevitable consequences of angering dragons, goblins, and, of course, dwarves with fragile egos. This only reinforces his ability to duck and weave through danger, because as any experienced adventurer or reluctant burglar knows, the best way to win a fight is to not get clobbered in the first place. At level 7, Bilbo's knack for reading people and situations sharpens with even more expertise, this time in insight and perception. Now he can spot a hidden foe or an inconveniently placed dragon and read a room like a true social tactician. Whether it's figuring out Thorin's mood swings or realizing that Gandalf always has an agenda, Bilbo's ability to assess situations goes from mildly aware to dangerously perceptive. He may be a burglar, but he's no fool. At least not anymore. At level 8, Bilbo unlocks Evasion, a must-have for any small, squishy adventurer who doesn't want to become barbecue. Now, when faced with massive area effects like dragon breath, collapsing tunnels, or angry wizards throwing fireballs, he can gracefully dodge out of the way entirely if he succeeds on his dexterity saving throw. Even if he fails, he only takes half damage, meaning Bilbo remains stubbornly difficult to squash. Considering he spent an entire journey dodging disaster at every turn, this feels about right.
See, that's where I belong. That's home. And that's why I came back, because you don't have one.
At level 9, Bilbo dips back into Warlock for his second level, gaining an Eldritch Invocation, Armor of Shadows. But rather than a spooky magical force field, we're flavoring it as Mithril Shirt, so light and enchanted that it's basically second skin. This legendary armor lets him stay protected without sacrificing mobility, perfect for a burglar who prefers slipping through tight spots over tanking hits. He also picks up Comprehend Languages, which is incredibly useful when trying to decipher old maps, read ancient runes, or understand the rantings of a gold-obsessed dragon who won't stop monologuing about wealth. At level 10, Bilbo's Warlock powers deepen, and he fully embraces the Pact of the Talisman. Except in this case, the Talisman is an unassuming little ring that just so happens to warp fate itself. Whenever he fails an ability check, the ring lends a helping hand, or more accurately a d4, to push him towards success. Sneaking past goblins, escaping from dungeons, convincing Thorin to share, the ring's got his back. For now. He also picks up invisibility, making his burglar skills even more supernatural, and Rebuke of the Talisman, a nice little defensive trick that punishes anyone who dares to lay hands on him. After all, this is no ordinary hobbit. He's got a mysterious benefactor keeping an eye on him. At level 11, Bilbo leans further into his growing awareness, boosting his wisdom by 2, making him more perceptive, cunning, and less likely to wander into obvious danger. He also gains Misty Step, which is just an even fancier way of disappearing when the going gets tough. Whether he's escaping capture, dodging trolls, or just refusing to deal with social awkwardness, Bilbo now has a teleport button. Oh, and he picks up Blade Ward because, let's face it, he's still a soft little halfling and sometimes he just needs to hunker down and not get stabbed. At level 12, Bilbo's Warlock training reaches level 5, unlocking Blink, which turns his whole adventuring strategy into now you see me, now you don't. Every turn, there's a chance he just slips into the ethereal plane, meaning enemies can't touch him. Just like how he seems to conveniently disappear whenever danger is near. To top it off, One with Shadows lets him vanish entirely when in dim light or darkness, which is just perfect for a sneaky hobbit with an increasingly powerful and suspiciously convenient magic ring. At level 13, Bilbo's Fey connection grants him Misty Escape, the ultimate nope button. Whenever he takes damage, he can vanish in a puff of mist and teleport up to 60 feet away, turning invisible in the process. Getting stabbed? Gone. Cornered by goblins? Not anymore. Dealing with awkward social interactions? Well, it only works when he's hurt, so he'll have to stay to talk to people. To make things even more interesting, he learns Intellect Fortress, or should I say his growing resistance to the ring's influence. At least for now. Mind tricks and magical persuasion won't work so easily on this burglar. At level 14, and it seems the dwarves have rubbed off on him a bit. He picks up his first level in Fighter, and with it comes Blind Fighting Style, which is a pretty useful trick for spotting invisible things. Benefits of having a magic ring, I guess. He also gets Second Wind, a handy little burst of stamina that lets him push through exhaustion and minor injuries. Good thing too, because the adventure isn't over yet. At level 15, Bilbo gains Action Surge, proving that even a hobbit can summon the strength to go the extra mile when it counts. Whether he's dodging a pack of orcs, sneaking past an army, or talking his way out of a tight spot, he now has the ability to act twice in a turn. That means more escapes, more stealth, more everything. It's a fitting power-up for a hobbit who, despite all odds, keeps finding ways to outmaneuver enemies far bigger and stronger than him. At level 16, Bilbo fully embraces his unorthodox combat style by taking his 3rd level in Fighter, choosing the Student of War feature. Naturally, he becomes proficient in Cobbler's tools because, as we all know, they are the most powerful tools in the game. With his newfound tactical training, he also picks up some Battlemaster maneuvers, further refining his tricks or tactics. Ambush makes him even better at sneaking around, Tactical Assessment ensures he can outthink just about anyone, and Bait and Switch lets him shove Thorin in front of an incoming orc attack. Look, if the guy insists on charging headfirst into danger, Bilbo might as well make good use of him. Level 17, Bilbo doubles down on his luck with the Second Chance feat, gaining a +1 to Constitution, and more importantly, the ability to force an enemy to re-roll if they manage to hit him. If they get a lucky shot in, he just gets a do-over. It's like the ring's residual influence refuses to let him take a direct hit. Whether it's dodging a goblin's blade, avoiding an orc's club, or barely escaping from a dragon's claws, Bilbo's uncanny ability to not die reaches new heights. At level 18, Bilbo picks up Extra Attack, making him a surprisingly competent combatant. Sure, he was always more about sneaking, running, and talking his way out of things, but now he can actually hold his own when a fight breaks out. Sort of. Not really, but he can attack twice, so that's fun. At level 19, Bilbo caps off his combat prowess with the Lucky feat, because, let's be honest, he's been coasting on sheer dumb luck since he left the Shire. Now, he can burn luck points to reroll ability checks, attack rolls, or saving throws, essentially bending fate to his will. Whether it's dodging Smaug's fiery breath by sheer accident, stumbling his way out of a troll's grasp, or avoiding Gandalf's disappointment for the umpteenth time, Bilbo's survival skills remain just as much about luck as they are about skill. At level 20, Bilbo rounds out his journey with Know Your Enemy, solidifying himself as a master of observation. If he has a minute to study an opponent, he can gauge their strengths and weaknesses, making sure he always has the upper hand. Whether that means negotiating with a dragon, outwitting goblins, or figuring out which dwarf is most likely to get hit instead of him. To complement this, he picks up Evasive Footwork, making him even harder to pin down, and Commander Strike, letting him direct others into battle while he conveniently stays out of harm's way. At this point, Bilbo Baggins isn't just a burglar, he's a tactical genius, a master of trickery, and a legend in his own right. And to think, it all started with a very reluctant adventure.
Tea is at 4. There's plenty of it. You are welcome anytime.
Bilbo Baggins may look like just another unassuming hobbit, but don't let that fool you. This little guy is a walking, talking, second breakfast eating force of nature. Let's take a look at some of the tricks of his hobbit-sized sleeves. He's a master of sneaking. He's got a plus 14 in stealth, naturally stealthy, a bonus action hide. He's also got one of the shadows, invisibility, misty escape, and the ambush fighting style. Bilbo is so stealthy, he sneaks past a dragon that can smell gold. If Smaug, an ancient, all-powerful murder lizard, can't detect him, your local guards have no chance. He is never getting caught. And if he does, he flees with style. Who needs to fight when you can just vanish? Misty Escape, Skirmisher, Bait and Switch, Blink, and Misty Step all mean that if things get dicey, he's gone before you even know what happened. He's not running away though. He's making a tactical retreat, which is totally different, we swear. All that running gives him wisdom beyond his years. He has a whopping 20 in wisdom, plus 11 to his wisdom saving throws, and advantage on them thanks to Intellect Fortress. Add in halfling bravery, and Bilbo's mind is as sturdy as the Shire itself. He's not getting frightened, tricked, or mentally dominated by some all-powerful Dark Lord. He'll just put on the ring and walk away. And if all that fails, he's absurdly lucky. Bilbo isn't just lucky, it's like fate chose him. He's got halfling luck, second chance, and the lucky feat that means that even when things do go wrong, they don't really go that wrong. Plus, with uncanny dodge and evasion, he can reduce incoming damage like it's nothing. The man survived an encounter with a dragon. Need we say more? Bilbo may be a master thief, but there's a reason that he didn't exactly make a splash at the Battle of the Five Armies. Let's see why. He's a hobbit made of glass. He's got a 15 AC and 90 hit points. That's bad. If someone actually lands a hit on him, he's getting folded like a Shire picnic blanket. And let's not even talk about power word kill. One word, and Bilbo's going straight to the Undying Lands. He's vertically and statistically challenged. Outside of that god tier wisdom, Bilbo's stats are tragic. He doesn't break a 14 in anything else, and considering none of his classes even use wisdom, that's just depressing. He may be the greatest burglar in Middle-earth, but if you asked him to lick a sack of potatoes, he'd probably throw his back out. And we need to talk about that one scene. You know what I'm talking about. Fellowship of the Ring. Frodo's holding the ring. Bilbo gets that look, he reaches for it, and then, oh my sweet mercy, what is that? Why did he turn into a jump scare demon? Why did his face do that? Who let Peter Jackson do this to us? 1 second, it's a nice little scene between old friends, and the next, we're staring into the mouth of pure, unfiltered nightmare fuel. Did Bilbo momentarily transform into an eldritch horror? Did Sauron himself hack into his nervous system for a hot second? I have no idea. All I do know is that I was a happy child before I saw that scene, and now I sleep with a nightlight. Unforgivable. Well, much like Bilbo after a long adventure, I'm ready to curl up with a nice cup of tea and pretend none of that ever happened. If you enjoyed this build and want to see more like it, consider liking, subscribing, and ringing that notification bell. Just be careful, it might echo ominously in the dark. Let us know in the comments if you take Bilbo on a quest, or if you're still recovering from that scene. Or just drop some riddles down there and see who cracks first. You can find this build and many more over on our Patreon, completely free, no bartering with dragons required. Well, I'm off to get my second breakfast, and maybe even a third. So until next week, we'll catch you on the flip side.